The day 82-year-old Martha died, her family thought the story was over. They remembered the way she smelled like vanilla and laundry soap, the way she pressed $5 bills into her grandchildren's hands and whispered, "Don't tell your mother." The way she sat at the head of the table every Thanksgiving, a tiny woman in a faded floral dress, ruling the room with warm smiles and gentle sarcasm. To everyone who knew her, Martha was simple, predictable, safe. But the most dangerous people are often the ones who seem the most harmless. 3 weeks after the funeral, on a rainy Tuesday afternoon, her granddaughter Sarah climbed the narrow wooden steps into Martha's attic. The rest of the family was downstairs arguing over who would take the dining table, the photo albums, the old record player. Nobody volunteered for the attic. It smelled like dust and forgotten years. Sarah clicked on a dim bulb, its light swinging and casting nervous shadows across stacks of boxes. Old Christmas decorations, yellow dresses, warped photo frames with faces she didn't recognize. She almost missed it. At the far corner, where the roof slanted so low she had to crouch, a section of floorboards looked wrong, newer, slightly raised, as if someone had pried them up before. Her heart started beating a little harder, for no real reason at all. Curiosity is a dangerous thing. She wedged her fingers under the plank and pulled. It came up with a groan of protesting nails. Beneath it, wrapped in an old moth-eaten quilt, was a heavy oak box. Dark, solid, with a thick brass padlock corroded from age. Sarah whispered to herself, "What are you hiding?" Grandma?" She dragged the box to the center of the attic, hands slipping slightly from the dust and sweat. The lock was rigid, but the metal was weak. 10 minutes, a screwdriver, and a lot of frustration later, it snapped. The lid lifted with a slow, wooden sigh. Inside, there were no love letters, no faded trinkets, no secret jewelry, just paper. Neatly stacked, perfectly aligned, bundled with old string, legal documents, deeds, certificates, contracts, pages and pages of Martha's handwriting and signatures. Sarah frowned, annoyed at first. This wasn't a treasure chest. This was paperwork. But then her eyes caught a name she didn't recognize, and the story of her family fractured in an instant. To understand the scale of what Sarah was about to uncover, you have to know who Martha was supposed to be. Martha married her husband Arthur in the late 1950s. Their black and white wedding photo hung in the hallway of the house for over 60 years. Arthur in a simple suit, Martha in a plain dress, both of them squinting and smiling like they were staring into the sun in their future at the same time. They built a quiet life. Arthur worked at a local bank, the kind of job that makes other people's dreams possible, but never pays enough to fuel your own. Martha stayed home, raising their 3 children, baking casseroles for church events, crocheting blankets for every new baby born in their small town. She remembered every birthday, every anniversary, every teacher's name. She brought pies to neighbors going through divorce, flowers to those who just lost someone. When Arthur died suddenly in 1990, the entire town stopped. For weeks, the house was filled with casseroles, condolences, and people reassuring her that she had been the perfect wife. And she played that role flawlessly. The silent widow, the loyal partner whose love story tragically ended too soon. She never dated again, never hinted at another man. She wore Arthur's ring on a thin gold chain around her neck until the day she died. That was the woman they buried, the woman they thought they knew. Up in the attic, Sarah picked up the first document from the box, expecting to see Arthur's name. She didn't. It was a property deed, a house, a large 2-story home in a city 300 miles away, a place Sarah vaguely remembered from road signs on school trips, a city Martha had always dismissed with a wave of her hand. "Too far, too busy, nothing there for us," she would say. But the deed clearly said otherwise. The owner of that property was Martha Louise Wright, her grandmother, signed in careful handwriting. Dated 1973. Sarah blinked. Had Grandma owned a second house? She set that document down, her hands already starting to feel clammy, and grabbed the next. A marriage license. Her brain processed the layout before it processed the words. Husband, wife, date, location, official stamps, signatures. Her eyes slid to the line marked groom. It did not say Arthur. It said Thomas Edward Vance. The date of the ceremony? 1974. At that time, Arthur and Martha had been married for almost 20 years. They were raising 3 children in their quiet suburban home. Arthur was working full-time. Martha was attending church every Sunday, hosting Bible study on Wednesdays, sewing Halloween costumes in October, and apparently marrying another man in another city. Sarah's breath hitched. The attic suddenly felt too small. The shadows felt closer. Her own heartbeat sounded loud in her ears. Carefully, almost fearfully, she took another stack of papers. This time, they were birth certificates. 2 of them. 2 boys. Birth years, 1976, 1978. Father, Thomas Vance. Mother, Martha Louise Vance. Martha, again, her grandmother. Listed as the mother of 2 children Sarah had never even heard of. Something inside her tilted. Had she misread something? Was this a mistake? Or had the kind, fragile woman who baked cookies and complained about her arthritis been leading a double life for decades? The human mind is a powerful storyteller. When confronted with something that doesn't fit, it will twist reality to protect itself. Sarah's mother, Martha's oldest daughter, was the first one Sarah showed the documents to. She watched the color drain from her face as she scanned the names and dates. At first, she laughed, a short, broken sound. "This has to be some kind of scam," she whispered. "Identity theft, a clerical error, something." But the signatures, the handwriting, the exact looping style of the M in Martha, there was no denying it. It was her mother. Slowly, painfully, memories began to rearrange themselves in her mind. For years throughout the 1970s and early 80s, Martha had traveled upstate every second weekend to care for her sick sister, Eleanor. The family knew the routine well. Arthur would drive her to the train station Friday afternoon, kiss her goodbye, tell her to send his love. She'd come back Sunday night with tired eyes and stories of difficult hospital visits and complicated treatments. No one ever questioned it. Why would they? Good people help their sick relatives. That's what you're supposed to do, except there was just one problem. Martha didn't have a sister named Eleanor. She didn't have any sisters at all. The upstate trips that the family had admired as acts of selflessness were, in truth, something else. Every second weekend, Martha stepped off that train 300 miles away, walked through a different front door, and became someone else's wife, someone else's mother. To Arthur and their 3 children, she was the devoted homemaker who reluctantly left them to help a dying sibling. To Thomas and the 2 sons she had with him, she was a successful traveling corporate consultant whose job required her to be away during the week, but who always rushed home for the weekends, carrying small gifts and stories from the road. 2 lives, 2 families, 1 woman, no overlap, no mistakes, at least none that anyone noticed at the time. The more they dug through the box, the more the mechanics of her deception unfolded in chilling, meticulous detail. There were bank statements from an account Arthur never knew existed. The deposits started in the late 60s. Funds from an inheritance Arthur had always been told was small and already gone. In reality, that inheritance had been carefully tucked away, slowly growing, used to buy the second house and support the second family. There were train tickets, receipts, and handwritten schedules in an old notebook where every hour seemed accounted for. She had crafted 2 timelines and lived inside both of them, slipping in and out like a seasoned actress who never broke character. Weekdays in the suburbs, school runs, church functions, grocery shopping, PTA meetings. Every second weekend in the city, family dinners with Thomas and the boys, birthday parties, school plays, late-night conversations at the kitchen table about when she might be able to leave her demanding job. She remembered 2 sets of holidays, 2 sets of anniversaries, 2 sets of stories. She kept every lie straight. There were no overlaps in birthdays between the 2 sets of children, No overlapping anniversaries. No easily traceable contradictions. It was as if she had studied her own life from above and rearranged it like furniture to make room for two separate homes. To Arthur, she was tired from hospital visits. To Thomas, she was tired from business travel. To both, she was devoted. Someone once said, "A lie is most believable when it contains just a little bit of truth." Martha hadn't lied about everything. She took trains. She visited a house repeatedly. She was exhausted. She was juggling too much. The only thing missing from her stories was the other family. The question that consumed them wasn't just how, but why. Why would a woman who already had a stable husband and 3 children risk everything? Why gamble with that much destruction? The documents didn't answer that. But buried in the box was something else. Letters, not to her children, not to Arthur, not to Thomas. Letters to herself. In one written in shaky handwriting near the end of her life, she wrote, "I wonder if anyone will ever understand that the only way I knew how to be whole was to split myself in two." She never mailed that letter. She just folded it neatly,